Welcome to Toronto, a city that has been bracing itself for its first NBA playoff game in 5 long years. At that time, the face of the franchise was that man in the red headband, Vince Carter, who now returns to Toronto as a member of the New Jersey Nets. And he will face the new face of the franchise, Chris Bosh, who hopes to continue what has been an amazing ride for his Raptors this season.
It is Sportsfeld Storytime. We are looking back at the 2007 Toronto Raptors and their playoff run, abbreviated playoff run, but an unexpected run to the top of the Atlantic Division where they would meet Vincent Lamar Carter and the New Jersey Nets, basically kicking off what would be a minor rivalry as they...
It's got its own Wikipedia page, I just learned.
Does have its own Wikipedia page. Last week we talked a little bit about that Raptors regular season where they went 47-35. And I'll tell you this, watching back a Raptors top 10 plays of 2006-2007 highlight reel, I am struck by how many memorable moments from this season I still have in my brain from almost 15 years ago.
Yeah, I think it was the first taste. I guess, for me, age-wise, obviously I was in with the Raptors from day one, and obviously the Sixers Knicks series I was following and aware of, but this was the first Raptors playoff series, first Toronto playoff series, I guess, really, as a pseudo adult for me to really be into. This is, I'm almost 20 years old here, so this is a big deal at the time, and especially the way they made the playoffs and the way they had that huge surge that we talked about last week. This was the good shit, as the kids say.
Some of the moments that I from this season that stick out, there's the TJ Ford foul line pull-up against the Clippers at the buzzer to win the game, where Sam Mitchell goes absolutely haywire, jumping up and down on the sidelines and loses his mind. There is a Chris Bosh desperation game-winning 3 against, I want to say, Minnesota, maybe?
Yeah.
A deep pull-up 3 on a broken play. There's an Andrea Bargnani buzzer-beating 3. And more than anything, Jake, maybe the craziest one of all is the Michael Ruffin play that goes down as one of the most unlikely ends to a game that you will ever see in your entire effing life.
Now will the Wizards foul down the floor, and it's a deflection by Ruffin. And the play continues. Peterson got it! I don't believe it! I don't believe it! Is it good if it goes? We got to check it out. If it's good, we're going into overtime and a Hail Mary 3 by Mo Pete. I don't believe what I just saw. Onions, baby onions. We have got to find out on a replay.
For those of you who don't remember the Michael Ruffin, Morris Peterson play, it's March 30th, 2007.
I didn't realize that was this season. That's amazing.
It was 109-106 with 3.8 seconds left, right after 2 free throws. And it's truly one of the most ridiculous sequences I have ever seen in my life. There's a made free throw, and then Tony Parker tries the old touchdown pass inbound. Michael Ruffin steals it, throws it straight up in the air because the game is over, except Mo Pete catches it 30 feet out with 1.2 seconds left, gathers and hits a game-tying 3. Everyone just looking at Michael Ruffin like, I literally just hold on to the ball for actually 1 second. Truly unbelievable. One of the things, I've never really seen anything like it. So
an all-time Chuck Swirsky call on that one too.
That was another thing that I forgot about. It's Chuck Swirsky as the play-by-play guy the rest of this way. Man, legendary. What a legend. Man, when they won a game at the buzzer or when they had a big moment, nobody better than Swirsky. Holy cow.
Yeah, obviously Matt and Leo or Matt and Jack, sorry, I should say, are iconic, so good at what they do. But Swirsky is, I don't think it's a stretch to say Swirsky is responsible for a lot of basketball love in Toronto. Like
Absolutely.
especially in like those downer mid 2000s years. He always made the game fun to watch, no matter what.
You sort of forget how bad the team was because he did make it seem so exciting.
Mm-hmm.
He did make them seem like they were a really good team. When you look back and you're like, man, there's not a lot to this.
Yeah,
not a lot going on.
Swirsky is, I think, obviously not for everybody, but I think with a lot of, especially the new younger Raptors fans, Swirsky's kind of not forgotten, but what's the opposite of a footnote? A pre-note? I don't know.
Yeah,
but I feel
forward.
Yeah. And like obviously he has moved on to Chicago and continued his great career, but I think he's sort of I don't know. I feel like he could use more recognition in modern day Raptorland.
It was tough in the first couple of years of Matt Devlin. I remember that being like it's been really hard to replace the Swirsky, but Devlin has his own completely different style, much smoother.
Yeah, like I think they're both very good at what they do in different ways. But I do agree with you. When Swirsky left, there was really a feeling of like, who can replace Swirsky?
The guy from the Memphis Grizzlies, Matt Devlin. Anyway, long story short, the Raptors win the Atlantic and they come in to the playoffs, their first playoff series in 5 years. They are the 3 seed against the New Jersey Nets, who just so happen to have Vince Carter on their team. The Nets, basically, it's a big 3 and a bunch of nobodies. It's Vince Carter, Richard Jefferson, and Jason Kidd. They would play most of all of their games. The rest of the stuff, it's Mikey Moore, who was really a pain in the ass forever. Jason Collins, an alternate big, and then guys like Boscia Nakbar, Antoine Wright, Josh Boone, Marcus Williams, Clifford Robinson. So really not a lot else. Really just the big 3 of Carter, Jefferson, and Kidd. That would be the entirety of this Nets attack.
Yeah, but it was potent at what they did. They were, those Jefferson, Carter, Kidd years were successful for a reason,
Things start out in Toronto, 12:30 start, because that's what life is like when you're a Raptors fan. Game 1 is 96-91 Nets. The Raptors valiant in their attempt to make a game of this as they end up winning the fourth quarter by 8, but it was not enough as they exited the third down by 13, 78-65. So some real uphill climbing as they get sort of kicked around by this Nets offense led mostly by Richard Jefferson. The one thing you will point to is they kept Vince to 5 of 19 shooting and 16 points and a -11. It was Richard Jefferson's 28 and Jason Kidd's 8, 10, and 15 that really seals it up for the Nets.
I remember this game so well. I believe I was on a train when this game was being played. It's either this game or game 3. Let me check my day. What day of the week was this? This was a Saturday. I was on a train returning home from interviewing at universities.
Wow.
Which was what I was doing at this time. Or no, that can't be right. I was already in. I was going down to do something I was coming home from Montreal. I can't remember what I was doing though. I'd already gotten in. I was going down to check something out because I started school in September of this year. So I think I must have already been accepted. I forget how that timing works. But regardless, I remember being on a train from Montreal when this game was going on. And this is the days before reliable Wi-Fi and streaming of games. No Sportsnet Now in 2007. So I remember following this game by going to the NBA.com Gamecast page and clicking refresh every 30 seconds on the train. And I remember watching how quickly this one sort of got out of hand in the second quarter and being like, there it is.
The Raps, second quarter is absolutely right. The Raps, it's frustrating. Only 19 points in the second quarter. Down big, basically the whole way. And would bounce back, though. Game 2, they get their revenge, 89-83. I can't believe that is a full game score. The first quarter of this game ended 14-12.
It's almost a miracle they got to 89 after that first quarter.
It was 36-33 at the half.
Those defensive slugfests with noted defensive players like Rasho Nesterovic and Andrea Bargnani on the floor.
What in the world were we watching? Oh my goodness.
What a starting five for the Raptors in this game. Parker, Bosch, Ford, Rasho, and Joey Graham.
Was always big on the Rasho move to the starting lineup.
Me too.
Not blocking shots, but disrupting shots. That was always Leo's. He doesn't block a lot of shots, but he alters a lot of shots. It was 26 from Anthony Parker and 23 from Chris Bosch. Anthony Parker was almost hard to explain how big of a fan favorite he was.
Yeah.
He was like before.
He was Norm Powell before Norm Powell, I think is how I would call Anthony Parker. But like maybe even more so because there was so much less to care about on the team, if that makes sense. I don't know.
No, absolutely.
I loved Anthony Parker. He was by far my favorite player on this team. I don't know if that would stay because Jose stayed for so long, but loved Anthony Parker.
Boy, I thought they were going to win this series. I really did.
I did too. Especially after they won game. After they won game 2, I was like, okay, they got this.
Well, they let it. This was classic Raptors in this era. As soon as you felt even the slightest bit of positivity, they would snatch it from you, and you would go into the half of game 3 basically down 20, down 58-39. It was inevitable that a Vince game was going to happen. They kept him in check. They kept him under 20 points the first 2. He goes off for 37 on 15 of 23 shooting. Jason Kidd, 16, 16, and 19 in this game. Boy, oh boy, garbage all around. I'll tell you this, you sort of come back at it. Bargnani doesn't really do anything in many of these games, huh?
No, and he wasn't starting. I get that he was a rookie still. Like, I think it's easy to be like, he's the number 1 pick. Why isn't he doing more? But also it was his rookie year.
Yeah.
Like
and rookie usage has changed a lot in the NBA in a very short time.
And I also think that, it's easy to criticize Bargnani in this series in retrospect, knowing where the rest of his career would go. But at the time, I think it made a relative amount of sense. Maybe still frustrating because he was the number 1 pick and it was.
And your starting lineup has Rasho and Nesterovic in it.
Yeah.
A blowout loss. What can you really talk about? Your Raptors starters again: Bosch, Parker, Ford, Nesterovic, and Joey Graham. They would make a change in the next game. They do start Bargnani. He gets the start as they go back for game 4. 16 points, but a minus 27. Bosch a minus 32. Ford a minus 25. The Raptors absolutely shellacked in this one. 102-81 as they only top 90 points once in the first 4 games of this year.
Kept alive by Kidd. Carter for 3. Yes!
You're kidding me.
An off-balance 3 from deep in the corner by Carter.
Assist New Jersey here tonight. Watch the deflection, and then Kidd just makes the little no-look one-hand pass.
He is 21 in the first half. They've led by as many as 33. Here's Carter for 3. That's his 5th three-pointer.
Defensive assignment missed by Toronto. Chris Humphries fails to come out on Carter in that zone.
I remember this game and just how it had that classic playoff feeling of you got to win this one. Mm-hmm. And then they came out so flat and just got absolutely smoked in the first quarter, 32-15 to end the first. And it was just well, that was fun. Maybe I remember, I think we all got really tricked into the seeding in this one because the Raptors were the 3 seed, the Nets were the 6 seed. But then it was oh, right, this is a team full of veterans who have been here before and are all Hall of Famers. And the Raptors have Chris Bosh and a bunch of guys.
27 for Vince in this one as he is once again the game's leading scorer. No Raptors player scores more than 16. Say what you will about Bargnani's 16 points. He led all scorers in the team. I can't believe there's games where people are scoring 81 points at the end of a playoff game. That's absurd. Raptors attempted 13 threes in this whole game.
That's crazy.
Bargnani goes 2 for 4. He only takes 4 threes in the whole game. What's going on?
Maybe super teams are good.
Maybe,
Make for watchable basketball at least.
This completely, shot heavy version of this game. Maybe not so bad. Anyway, it heads into a do or die game number 5 for the Raptors. And I'll tell you what, Jake, back at ACC, they win a must-win game. What a world.
A classic, as you pointed out earlier, classic 2000s Raptors game in that they were up big and then spent the whole game trying not to lose.
Yeah, up 7 with 3 minutes left, 95-88, and end up winning the game 98-96. It's they score 3 more points the rest of the way. All 3 of them free throws in the last 30 seconds. They go the final basically 3 of the final 3.5 minutes without scoring a single bucket.
Yeah, they were up 33-13 after the first quarter and then just spent the rest of the game hanging on.
But they do hang on. A wild one. You gotta love your guy Sam Mitchell. He goes Parker, Peterson, Bargnani, Bosch, Ford.
7 minutes for TJ Ford. Jose Calderon plays 38 minutes in this game and scores 25 points. That is my guy.
You never know what it's going to be. And in this one, it was Jose Calderon taking 20 shots over 38 minutes. Yeah, interesting. You mentioned that only the 7 minutes for Ford. Rasho Nesterovic only gets a minute and a half. Luke Jackson gets a minute and a half. Derek Martin and Chris Humphries under 3 minutes. He goes to Juan Dixon for a little bit. He was really emptying the tank and trying absolutely anything he could possibly find to get a matchup that worked.
Yeah, and I think, the Ford Calderon storyline sort of played throughout much of the season. And it is interesting how in the last 2 games of the season, it really became sort of the driving narrative.
And that brings us to the final game of this series, May 4th, 2007, from East Rutherford, New Jersey, the Continental Airlines Arena. It's Game 6, Raptors, Nets. We'll talk about that next time on Sportsfeld Storytime.